What up, Siccness.net? It's your boy Coop. We're back with another interview. This time we're going to take it down to the third coast and get you with another music industry vet. I would like to introduce you guys to Mr. Burke. How you doing, Ian?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm good. I appreciate you taking the time out your day, man. Give us a few minutes of your time for this interview. For a lot of our listeners, we're on the West Coast, so, a lot of people may be familiar with you, but for the people who aren't familiar with you, can you give us a brief description of, your role in the music industry?
Well, I did a lot of management and A&R work here in Atlanta, and I have been fortunate enough to have been blessed to work with the likes of Arrested Development, TLC, Outkast, Organized Noise, Akon, Bobby Valentino. I ran ASCAP here in Atlanta for 7 years, and I also was director of A&R for Elektra Records here in Atlanta as well.
Wow.
That's summing it up real quick.
Wow. Yeah, I was doing a lot of research and stuff, and I couldn't believe it. Would it be safe to say that maybe you are one of the guys responsible, or maybe you are the guy responsible for the Atlanta music scene?
No, I wouldn't take that whole burden on my shoulders like that. But I was definitely one of the ones that helped shape the scene into what it is today.
Right. So, I would like to go back into a little bit of the past. Your early work. I understand, like you said, you discovered a lot of talent. Being that you said Arrested Development, TLC, Kris Kross is one of those groups as well, correct?
I worked with Jermaine Dupri with Kris Kross. Yes, I did.
Okay, now when you were developing acts, like what was when you were out finding acts back, because I know the game is a lot different than it is now as opposed to back then, but you found a lot of important talent that made history into the music game. How did you find some of these talents? Was you going to talent shows, or were they submitting things to you?
No, back then, I wasn't that guy. You know what I'm saying? These things pretty much just fell into my lap, and I did what I could to help them, but to help move them along. So nobody really knew who I was, so nothing was ever submitted to me like that. People did introduce me to other people when after my reputation began to grow. Candy Burns' brother from the group Xscape was the one who sought me out to meet his sister's group and to hopefully take them under my wing. So, but starting off, I just happened to be at the right place at the right time and connected with the right people, and was just very assertive in what I was trying to do. And as little as I could do back then, it seemed to make an impact. So, and that's how it all began.
Wow. So Xscape, TLC, Kris Kross. You've also had your hands in with Outkast as well, right?
Yes, sir.
Man, sitting here today on this phone and doing this interview. I just named off a few people. How do you, when you wake up in the morning, how do you feel about your accomplishments when dealing with a lot of these acts that you have brought to the forefront that are still relevant in today's market, 20-odd years later?
Well, you know what? It definitely is. It feels good. I'm not gonna front. It would feel a little bit better if my pockets, would have benefited. But you know what? To be quite honest, I would have, if I would do this for free if I could. I just love the industry. And, once again, like I have just been blessed to have been able to work with superstar artists that have been able to stand the test of time, and not a lot of people can make that claim, and I'm glad to be one of them.
What is the downfall of your job? You know, finding these great talents, and then I guess I don't know the right word. I mean, is broker the right word? I guess sending them to a better position to further their careers.
Yeah, like, you know what, I'm a dot connector at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? I'm that guy who reach out for other people and bridge opportunities for people who may not be able to get to someone else. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much what I do, whether I do it as an A&R person or I do it as a manager. You know, and thus, you know, now it's kind of time for me to be able to benefit from these connections that I make. So, but that's pretty much how it works.
Right. So, is there any artist that you came in contact with, or maybe, like you said, connected the dots and wish that you know what, I should have just kept them with me and made that impact the whole way with them?
Right. Well, shoot, you know, all of them, you know, if I could, but, you know, being a good manager is someone who knows their limitations and what they can and cannot do. So it basically just came to a time where it's like, okay, I've taken this train as far as I could take it. It's in the better interest of the artists that I represented. It was just time for someone to come in and do what I wasn't able to do at the time. And, you know, you always want to keep it. You know, it's like your baby. It's like giving your child for adoption or whatever with someone else. But you know, you love that child and you want nothing but the best for that child. So you gotta do what you gotta do. And, you know, I did what I had to do at the time.
Right. Now, I deal with as well as you have, I deal with a lot of young artists, up and coming artists and things of that nature. Can you explain to some of these artists who are listening and people who want to be managed, what is actually a manager's job? What does a manager, his job description for managing an artist?
Well, I mean, the manager really is like a babysitter for adults, you know. We handle the day-to-day business sense or activities for the artists and, you know, just try to, you know, advise and consult the artists in the pros and cons of certain decisions that they may have to make, you know. And that's what a lot of people don't realize, is that ultimately, as a manager, you actually work for the artist, but the artist is hiring you to help them make decisions that you know that they may not be able to make it themselves, or to, you know, just be a buffer between them and everybody trying to get to them. You know, it's that type of thing. So, you know, ultimately, it's like, you know, you're an extended parent. You're just making sure that that the client is comfortable, and he feels good about the decisions that he or she may make, and so forth and so on. That's like a general idea of what a manager does.
Got it. Now, I was seeing you have a development company. You're developing artists.
Right.
What you've been doing, but okay, is there a difference in between developing artists? Because, you know, most labels, they had artist development when they were early on in music 10 years ago or so. And now you have social media where a lot of artists are, you know, being found online, YouTube and Instagram and things like that. Is there a different format as in developing an artist then to now?
No. Artist development is artist development, and social media is both a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because now, especially independent artists, have that reach to get out, globally and find an audience for their music, for their art, for their content. It's a curse because, because of that reach, artist development, pure artist development has been suffering with artists. So you have artists out there that are big, but they're not really stars. Their performances are terrible. Their interviewing skills are lousy. They lack serious help as it relates to those particular matters, those particular things which matter most in an artist's career. So yeah, artist development is artist development. You get in the studio, you work with professionals, dance rehearsals, media training, vocal lessons, styling. You know what I'm saying? All that is part of real artist development, and that's what makes stars. That's why, when I look around today, there's very few new stars coming out of the game because, like I said, real artist development has been suffering throughout the years.
So as for you being in the management field and developing artists, what are some of the key elements that you look for in an artist to say, you know what, this is a star right here?
You know what? I pay attention to who other people pay attention to. Like if you can walk into a room and people start to look or to stare or to swing their heads in your direction, then that is a clue to me that you have a certain it factor, a certain swagger about yourself, or a certain confidence about yourself that attracts people, that pulls people in. And I look for that particular character or that particular trait when I'm working with artists. And nowadays it's not about, how good you can sing and everybody just feels like, oh, I'm a great singer, I can sing better than so and so and so and so. It's not all about that sometimes. It's about, okay, who's paying attention to you when you walk into a room? Who looks like they want to be part of your circle just because of what you're wearing or how you carry yourself? So that's a very important trait that I look for when deciding as to whether or not I want to take on a client.
Mm-hmm. So 20 years later, Atlanta music, you've been heavily having your hands in Atlanta music. Today's Atlanta music scene, what are your opinions on it?
I have no real opinion on it, to be honest. It is, I feel like what we have here is a bunch of disposable artists. The songs are bigger than the artists. You know what I'm saying? It's hard when you hear a record on the radio and everybody sounds the same. You like the record, but you don't really know who the artist is. When we were coming up in the late 80s and the 90s, like, we had our stars, we had our heroes like they did back in the 60s and the 70s. People that made timeless music, classic music, whether you're talking about Tony Rich or Tony Braxton or Usher or TLC, Outkast, Arrested Development, 112, Jagged Edge, The Brat, Kris Kross, or Luda, T.I., towards the end of the millennium. Those were people Goody Mob, of course. Those were people that made timeless music. Like, you could put on one of those records, like right now in the club, and it doesn't matter that it's 20 some odd years old. People are going to get on the floor and jam to it because, that's the feel that these artists gave you. And not only will they jam to it, they'll know the lyrics, they'll know the artist. You know what I'm saying? All because, the training that those artists received back in those days. So once again, that's just my opinion on it. That's how I see it.
Do you feel the industry is oversaturated?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Nobody's doing anything new, The people that start the trends and people start to follow, and next thing you know, you got a bunch of Drake wannabes, singing on their hooks and things of that nature,
Yeah.
So people are scared to take a risk nowadays. People want to be safe. Oh, this is the sound. This is what we need to go with. This is the trap music thing, and this is how we need to roll.
Does the A&R exist in today's music industry?
Sure. Where it used to be artists and repertoire, now it's artists and research. There are no real A&Rs left. What you do is have a bunch of social media geeks that go through and see how many followers you have, how many likes you got to your post, you know what I'm saying, how many retweets you got. And, they approach those people. How many views you have on your video? So that's the new A&R. That's not real A&R. Because of that, you get people like Trinidad James, who gets a multi-million-dollar deal, supposedly, and is unable to follow up with the quote-unquote hit record that he had. But these people are out here getting these deals instead of the real artists out here who have and don't get it twisted. Not so much that I'm saying that Mr. James isn't a real artist, but let's look at it. What's the last record that he's come with? You know what I'm saying? Where is he at in the spectrum of things after receiving so many accolades from that first record he put out, or that quote unquote hit record that he put out? So yeah. I hope that answers your question.
Okay. Now you were definitely mentioned you were at ASCAP for a while. For the artist who just he's just building himself up and trying to get his machine going, publishing. For an artist who's not really selling records and hasn't even put out an album yet or anything, how important is publishing to someone like that? What do they need to do in order to get all this stuff ready? So just in case something does pop off and they don't, miss out on any money or.
Well, first and foremost, songwriters and producers have to understand that, for the music industry, publishing is your 401k. That's your retirement plan. That's what's going to put your kids through college. That's when all the fanfare starts. That's what you're going to be able to sit on your laurels and be able to rest them upon. A good song is like real estate. You know what I'm saying? The more you own, the better off you'll be, especially if they're hit records. So the first thing that you want to do is, as a songwriter, if you're in the business, either as an artist or you're writing for people, you want to affiliate yourself with what we call a performance rights organization. And we have 3 here in this country, 3 official ones. They're ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC. You want to you want to also get yourself connected with a digital rights, which is very important now because of all the internet radio stations, and also Spotify, Pandora, or Tidal, all the digital airplay that's going on. You want to familiarize yourself with all forms of agencies or offices that collect royalties from airplay or from licensing and sync licenses, from videos, from video games, and things of that nature. So.
Now, you said there's 3 in the country now. Do they all provide different services, or
no? They all provide one service, and that is to collect performance royalties for songwriters.
So it's just a matter of you picking which one you may be more comfortable with.
Absolutely. I always tell people to do their research, call and set up meetings if you can, and make your decision based upon that. Please don't make your decision based upon another person's experience with that particular performance rights organization, because I think that each person has a unique experience with anything really. So research it, and investigate it. See what's good. See what's best for you.
Okay. A couple years ago, they released a TLC movie, which was a group that you had a lot of work with. From your perspective of being there from the beginning to probably the end, was the film portrayed as accurate?
Oh no, that was Hollywood. That was Hollywood. It made for a good story. You know what I'm saying? And I learned this the hard way. It's funny, cause I love how Hollywood does it. They make it as entertaining as possible, and that's the best way to do it. Like I'm sure Straight Outta Compton had a lot of real things that happened, and a lot of this stuff was glamorized for the viewer who was going to pay, $15 for a movie ticket. So that's just how Hollywood does it. You know what I'm saying? But there are things that were depicted in the movie that were definitely actual and factual. But it was definitely done for Hollywood.
For Hollywood. Do you still have a relationship with T-Boz and
well, I never really had a relationship with Chili. We are cordial to each other, because, she found her way into a group that I created. So for that, we're cool with each other. But, I just spoke with, Tia not too long ago. So yeah, we're really good friends.
So you said Chili, she said she found her way in a group. I mean, it's documented that there was another member, which was Crystal Jones, correct?
Right.
And I was watching an interview you guys did on YouTube a while back and about the movie, and she was saying that the movie didn't depict the way that she had left the group. They said she couldn't sing. What was the real reason why she left the group?
A lot of it had to do with how the contracts were being handled, how the business was being handled. They weren't allowed to have someone to speak strongly on their behalf. So the attorney that they did have was a junior attorney in the same law firm that represented the people that were signing them. You know what I'm saying? So it was definitely some sort of conflict of interest there. And she wasn't really with that type of scenario. And when people felt like she may be trouble for what they were trying to do, what's the best way to take care of those type of scenarios? You pluck it out. You get rid of it.
Got it.
And that's what happened.
Out of all the artists that you've helped develop and bring to the forefront, who's your favorite?
Oh man, that's a hard question. That's a hard question. It really is. I got love for so many of the people that I work with, and for different reasons. I could say that watching Outkast get the 2003 Album of the Year Grammy, and not just watching it on TV, but actually being out in all of it in the audience, was amazing for me. To be one of the first hip hop artists to have a diamond project with Speakerbox and Love Below. Watching TLC, blossom, into these three little hip hop girls to be in one of the biggest female groups in the history of music. You know what I'm saying? It's amazing to me. Xscape will always have a special place in my heart, because to me, those were just amazing young ladies. They could sing. I promise you, I would put them up against some of the guy groups that were out. Their harmonies were just off the chain. It didn't matter how people may have perceived how they looked. When I first walked in there and they sang for me, I was just done. I was done. I was like, this is going to be amazing. So I don't really have a favorite. Like I said, they all have a special place with me. And I enjoyed working with all of them.
That's great. That's great. So the future is here. What do you have going on today?
Well, I have a couple of artists that I have signed to me. One is a young Latin pop artist by the name of Gabriel Arengo. He just released his first single and video, Ay Ay Ay, which was produced by Brian Michael Cox and Kendrick Dean. He's a Spanglish artist, so something a little different from me. We're about to start working on his next single, and we're coming up with some really cool ideas, and, we'll see how things work out at the top of 2016 for him. I'm also starting to work on my other artist. Her name is Shang. She made it all the way up to the semifinals in America's Got Talent with her father. And we're working on her debut album. We released a project. I don't want to call it a mix CD or anything like that, but it was a free project that we dropped on via her website, and caught people's attention. And now we're ready to go into full production on on her project. And I'm also dabbling into film and television now. The eye has turned to Atlanta. There's over 100 projects that were shot here last month between the film and television joints, and people are definitely looking at Atlanta as being, that new spot where a lot of work is going to be done, and I want to try to capitalize off of that as well.
Is this the animate? Is this, like, I read something about an animated TV show? Is this what you?
I definitely want to touch. I have a couple of animated properties that I share with someone. Those are in the vault right now, but I definitely want to get into animation and production, stuff like that, of TV shows and potentially films as well. And I'm also getting into the whole tech thing. I work for a tech company called U42, based out of Cumming, Georgia. They build mobile gaming apps for the cell phones and on the pad devices. And, I'm helping them with developing a social media platform for the entertainment business, which they plan on launching in 2016 as well. So, that's a whole new field for me. I'm not technologically inclined, but their use for me, they didn't hire me for the tech part of it. They hired me because of what they felt like I could bring to the table with my wealth of knowledge, connections, and my tenure in the business.
Is reality TV good for music?
Well, we've seen the pros and the cons of that. That obviously, it worked very well for K. Michelle. You know what I'm saying? She was able to get where she has had problems getting her singing career off the ground in the past. Her involvement with Love and Hip Hop and eventually her own show has helped catapult her into at least getting onto the charts. You know what I'm saying? But then you have other situations that just work for, TV. You have other artists that try, and they're just not taken seriously because of everything else surrounding them, all the drama and everything like that surrounds them. So, the only reality TV show that I felt like really worked in the artist's favor, well, not necessarily in a favor, but at least it launched quite a few artists, is American Idol. Other than that, you know what I'm saying? Look, you get your few minutes on the little screen, on the idiot box. You take advantage of that. You go out there, you make it work for yourself.
Okay, so you would direct one of your artists if they had an opportunity to be on a reality show. You would direct them.
No, yeah, no, not necessarily. No, it would all depends on the type of reality show it was. You know, because if it's a show that's digging into his or her love life and the drama that he or she may have with someone else, other than focusing on the music that they're creating, it may not be good for my artists. You know what I'm saying? Those reality shows, they don't pay a whole heck of a lot. It gives you a platform, and you can get some hosting gigs out of it, but that doesn't mean that you're going to sell records. So I would have to be very cautious as to, who I put on to a reality show and why.
Got it. Man, what is your most memorable experience in your career today?
Oh, man, so many of those too. So many of those. I'll just name one of them. But as I name this one, another one will pop up in my head. But there was a time when I was working alongside of Patrick Sleepy Brown, and this was right before Organized Noise was created. And we were in the studio. We were at Doppler Studios, and I was sitting in the break room, and in the actual studio, L.A. Reid, Babyface, and Darryl Simmons were working on the soundtrack to the movie Boomerang, and they were actually working on the duet between that eventually became between Babyface and Tony Braxton. But I believe that it was originally written with the hopes that Miss Anita Baker would do the record. So sitting outside of the studio, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm waiting because really I was driving Sleepy Brown around. I was just driving. But to have L.A. Reid come out of the studio and say, hey, man, come on in, come in the studio with us and come vibe out. That was just like awesome to me because, it's like, they were the music guys here in Atlanta, especially on the pop urban scene. So, it was just crazy. I'm sitting there and I'm watching the song that became a big Grammy Award winning hit come to life, with them singing and playing. That was like really a strong moment. Another one was meeting, the people that I listened to growing up. I met Berry Gordy, who, my idol. Meeting him on several occasions and being able to talk with him. Rick James, right before he passed, the Commodores. One of the Supremes, which one was it? That she wrote the book Cream Girls. I'm trying to think of what her name is. It's sad that I can't remember. And then there was a time that, my all-time favorite, came over to a party that we were doing for Left Eye. Her 30th birthday party. Prince came over to the house. It was just a house party, and Prince came over. It was just cool. He was chilling out the whole night with folks. It was amazing. So
wow,
I could go on and on about that. You know what I'm saying?
Wow, that's dope. That is dope. Being that you mentioned all of these great R&B talents, R&B music today.
White. It's white.
Is that what it is?
It's white. You got Ariana Grande. You got Sam Smith. You got Adele. You got Justin Timberlake and Justin Bieber. Robin Thicke. Yeah.
Wow.
It's white now. And they're making more money doing it.
Really?
Absolutely.
Wow. Man, for the up and coming artists today, you can give them one nice gem to help them out with their movement. What would it be?
Research, educate yourself. Learn the ins and outs of the business that you're trying to get into. You want to be a doctor, you go to med school. You want to be a lawyer, you go to law school. Educate yourself about the business. That's it. There are books out there that you can get. on your pads or you can get hard copies. Or you can go to a library still. There's still libraries out there that you can go out and grab these books and read and learn about the ins and outs, the do's and don'ts of this industry that you want to be a part of. So you won't be on one of these shows later on talking about how somebody took advantage of you, took your money, and made you feel real bad, and now you're working second shift at McDonald's. So the one thing that I always like to tell people I feel is the most important thing is to educate yourself about the business and about become a music historian as well. You'd be surprised at how many of these people want to be artists and they don't know nothing about, contemporary artists of the past.
Right.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why we have so much garbage on the radio today.
Because nobody's doing their homework.
No, nobody. It's just that they want to be a star. I want to be a star. That's it.
Man. I don't want to take up too much of your time, and I appreciate it. You gave us a lot of gems. Do you have any last words for the listeners?
Follow your heart, follow your dreams. You know what I'm saying? Follow your passion. And don't give up. You go into this thing with a plan B. You're setting yourself up for failure. Put your mind to it and achieve your goals.